Got a shik edosh Kelvin and Shie. Hope everyone had a good first of the month weekend. And if you're Navajo, hope your Navajo Nation hardship checks are rolling in. And be sure to use that money on supporting res metal. Just kidding. This is episode 45 of Res Metal Podcast. And on this episode, I talk with Jamie of Decolonized. Jamie's currently out of the Albuquerque, New Mexico area, but originally from Hollister, North Carolina, out of the Haliwa Saponi Nation. Jamie is from the Haliwa Saponi and Nansemond tribes out in the East Coast, and I'm really thankful he got a chance to reach out to me, and we just get a chance to talk about where he comes from, his background, how he started Decolonized, and some of the trials and tribulations of his band. And we talk about how he relocated to Albuquerque to kind of with the purpose of getting Decolonized active once again. But thanks again for reaching out to me, Jamie, and also be sure to follow Jamie of Decolonized. Be on the lookout for new music. Also, always shout out to Metal Cave Zine for, recommending, bands to, talk to for this podcast. I'm a one-man operation, so, any help or, spreading the podcast is always appreciated. All right, if you haven't heard Decolonized, I'm going to play a quick clip, PTDD, off of the Seeds of Resistance demo. So check it out, and then check out the interview right after. All right, here we go. How's it going? This is Kelvin. I'm talking with Jamie from Decolonized. Do you want to give yourself an introduction to listeners, Jamie?
Alrighty. My name is Jamie. I am from North Carolina. I come from the Haliwa Saponi and Nansemond tribes out of North Carolina and Virginia. I am Eastern Woodlands, so that's why I have a Southern accent. So I'm from the Southeast, I'm from the East Coast. I moved out to New Mexico to rebuild my band and amongst the res metal scene. Because where I come from, there's not a lot of indigenous metalheads. I was like the only one there, I believe, in North Carolina that was interested in doing extreme metal and indigenous metal and all. And, when you're amongst a bunch of kids that really want to do hip hop, particularly gangster rap and all that, it's hard to find your place and hard to find musicians to play with, especially indigenous ones that understand the message, that you're going for.
How long ago did you relocate to New Mexico?
I relocated after the band fell apart. We did the demo. And because we were only a band for a few months, for the first lineup. And after we recorded the demo and did 2 shows, tension started rising between me and the guitarist. We weren't seeing eye to eye. Her mindset was very negative for me, and I had a very I don't give a fuck attitude, when it approached to the band and everything, because I feel like, you know, for as an artist, you have to please yourself before you please the fans. If you don't please yourself, then you're just kind of a slave to the fans, and you got to make some music that makes you happy. And her mindset was like, we're not good enough, we're not seasoned enough, you know, and it was just very draining. And that's how you know, and the climax was when, like, after we did 2 shows, she went on the band page, and I had to delete the video because I was so angry. She like thanked the people for coming to our shows, but proceeded to bash the demo that I paid out of pocket to record, and say, hopefully our debut album doesn't suck like our demo. And I was so pissed because, you know, it hurt me really bad because, you know, it made, you know, I'm a vocalist, you know what I mean? And I take a lot of pride into my band and my work, you know, and, you know, to have your own bandmate kind of go up there and bash your own material. It's self-sabotage.
I mean, it's a demo. Usually, I don't know, like, most demos are pretty raw, and I've heard it, and it's super raw, and I really dig it. I like that style and aesthetic of a raw demo.
Yeah. And, you know, I remember after we recorded it, you know, she was kind of unsatisfied with it, and we had a conversation. I did something. I told her, because she was a part of the North Carolina metal scene, and she wasn't native, so the rest of the lineup wasn't native. So, you know, so it was just basically a bunch of people who just got together and tried to make something happen. That's basically what the first Decolonized demo was a result of, just a bunch of people trying to make something happen, you know. And we got together, and she was all down about the demo's quality. And I told her, I said, look at our equipment. We are just starting. Bands don't make gold overnight. It comes with time. You know what I mean? It's a progression, you know. Like the only way you come out with something like solid, like out of the gate, is unless you've been doing it for 30 years or more and been in bands previous, you know what I mean? And know what you're doing. Where us, we don't know what the hell we're doing, you know what I mean? We're just starting out, we're just learning, we're just finding our way. And, you know, when you're starting out, you shouldn't be so hard on yourself about your first material. You should be like, we did our best, let's try to make it better the next time, and just keep building and building and building. It was only like after 2 shows, that's when she did that video, and I was pissed and I fired her. The bass player, you know, me and him were still friends. The only reason why I didn't continue to band with him was because he had like a rough time trying to get to practice, and I wasn't confident, you know, like where I was, because I felt like I can't make this band happen in a very white dominated scene, because I feel like the Euro-American dominated scene don't understand what I'm talking about. And I think they feel scared a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, that's what native metal is about. It attacks the systems the white man put in place, you know? And, you know, and to me, like, when you come into this band, you basically signing up to, you know, attack it, you know what I mean? And, you know, and I didn't want to continue it and have the same shit happen over and over again where I'm not agreeing with the person or whatnot. So I said, you know, let's go to New Mexico. So, you know, and at the time I was dating this Navajo girl. And she's me and her didn't last. So but we're roommates still, right? And she told me, hey, let's, you know, come out here, you know. So I got on a Greyhound and rode out here, and with the purpose of, besides being with her, but to rebuild my band. And being here, you know, it's been wonderful. You know, I mean, I love the art, I love the music around here, and I love the fact that there's more indigenous metalheads around here than where I come from, where there's none.
Yeah, for sure. The whole Southwest area is just full of, well, I mean, just the population in general with Native Americans. And I think just, you know, the scene, I feel like, you know, there's, you know, scenes around Albuquerque, scenes around Phoenix. And then there's kind of like, like, you know, it gets really thin, like, you know, as you kind of go further away from the city, like out here on the Navajo reservation, there's plenty of bands, but they're spread apart, like, you know, like 50, you know, maybe 100 miles apart, and getting shows together, it's pretty infrequent. And a lot of times the shows are really like, you know, kind of like DIY out here. But yeah, for sure. I think Albuquerque, Phoenix, I think those are the two places I'm familiar with, and they got really good scenes and a lot of cool like native bands out there.
For sure. Like I love the DIY-ness of like res metal. Like, that's the thing, you know, that kind of got into Decolonized was, you know, being as DIY as possible. Like I did the logo, I did the artwork, I did the logos because I was like, I want to, you know, I didn't have a lot of money. So, you know, and that's really what makes a lot of us go DIY is the fact we don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we just sit here, we're like, okay, let's try to draw the logo. Let's try to make some artwork, you know? And like with the first logo, which appears on the demo, I was trying to like do like this thrash death thing. It didn't go where the first logo was pretty cheesy, but the new one, I did a new one recently, and it's pretty good looking. And I actually made some symbols. Like the cross you see up there, I redid it. I did like a digitized version of it because I do know a little bit about graphic design and I can draw. And then I did like an anarchist turtle where I have like the turtle, but I have like the anarchist sign on the back of its shell, and it looks like a teepee. To represent like Turtle Island anarchy. And
okay.
but I love like the DIY-ness of it. And, you know, I hope that like once Decolonized gets back going to like be able to be a part of like not just shows at venues, but be a part of like the res shows, the shows that happen on the res, because like my mind said, let's play anywhere. It's all about exposure, you know?
Yeah.
As long as we got gas to get back home, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
For sure. Yeah, there's plenty of like places around here. Right now I'm just talking about the Navajo reservation, but the pandemic still kind of has things pretty limited, you know, as far as like public gatherings. I don't know. I know most of the places that I've seen shows like Gallup, and then Gallup, New Mexico is always, you know, they've had shows like within, you know, the past year, I think. But I think a lot of the shows on the res, they're still really kind of like they're not so, I guess they're not really well promoted, just only because we're still kind of in the pandemic. And I think a lot of the people on the reservation know just how bad the pandemic's been for the people and their families. So I think a lot of people are just mindful of doing shows right now. But I know like in Albuquerque, you can still go to shows with, if you show like your vaccine card. And so, I mean, hopefully you get to play some shows. So right now, is it just you? Are you the only member, or do you have anyone else?
We got Ross from Bloodwolf. We're doing bass. Me and him are real close. We're good friends, and he went through a similar situation like me. But he's getting his band back together. I think he got like a new drummer, and I think he got a new guitarist. You have to ask him about this. I recommend you interview him very soon because he's awesome. Yeah, it's me and him right now. We did have another member, but he couldn't be a part of the band because he had to focus on his family. He's got children, so we're like, okay, we're understanding about that, you know. So currently it's just me and him, and we're looking for more members. So if anybody out there is in the Albuquerque area or any of the Pueblo reses and interested in joining a native metal band that specializes in death, thrash, and grindcore, let us know.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, going back to like kind of like your background, you mentioned you're from North Carolina. You said it's the Haliwa Saponi Nation.
Yeah.
Can you tell like listeners kind of like what your area is like, and kind of like just like kind of like what life is like out there in Haliwa Saponi?
All right. The Haliwa Saponi Nation out in Hollister, North Carolina. Small little country town. We're state recognized, not federally recognized. So by the federal government, I guess we don't exist, but by the state we exist. We're like a small little country town. There's not a lot of like things to do, but I will say that if you compared it to like the Navajo reservation, you'd probably like, oh, it's a lot better because we got like Dollar Generals, more gas stations, and like a few little small fast food restaurants, which we call grills. Culture wise, like we have our culture class where if you're like a powwow dancer, we all come together on like Tuesday night and practice our dances, including the social dances. And sometimes during those classes, they'll like mention little extra classes where you can learn like craftsmanship, like how to do bone carving, how to make a drum, how to make a bustle. That's what we have in our community. I was a dancer before I was a musician. I used to dance grass and I used to dance traditional. Didn't travel much, I just kind of did my powwow because my grandma, was taking care of her mama. And so I was raised by her. So I didn't really get to travel a lot as a powwow dancer. However, I have fond memories of going to culture class as a kid and dancing and then being a part of the TAPS classes and all. So, and that's what our community is like. We actually have our language, we're trying to revive our language back home. We had a class for it briefly, and then I guess interest in it kind of like fizzled out. And I think a lot of it has to do with people not advertising it heavily enough. Like they just kind of keep it like word of mouth, which I think is an issue back home for me. And I know some of my language, and also, and my dream is to one day bring my languages Tutelo into death metal.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you mentioned that you're a powwow dancer, and you doing grass and traditional. That's cool. I grew up doing like powwow dancing too, like grass and like fancy dance. But I think as I've gotten older, it just gets harder and harder to like travel out. Especially like, if it's close by, I'll definitely check it out. But yeah, for sure, I can relate to you on that, where it is harder to like travel out for powwow gatherings. And then like just for people who aren't familiar, like is there like any like issues or any kind of like things that your people face that's kind of more specific that people don't realize?
Drug addiction and alcoholism is heavily on the community. And lack of access to healthcare for like elders. Another thing I noticed, there's this huge surge of people trying to be like wannabe gangsters, like kids, and I feel like the reason why it's happening is because they don't feel included within the community. Because, a lot of my people back home, we're mixed. Whether we wish to, they may disagree with you, but we're mixed, we're triracial, and that's just a result of colonialism as a whole. And, and there's people that don't look a certain way or something like that, and they'll make them feel like they're less indigenous than they are, and that's a big problem. And we need to kind of fight that issue of like anti-blackness or anti-whiteness, where people are like, oh, you got blonde hair and blue eyes, but you're Haliwa Saponi, okay, get out of here. You know what I mean? And that's a problem. Back where I come from, like the East Coast, that's an issue. You know what I mean? In general.
Yeah. And how did you? Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry to like butt in, but it sounds like you were one of like very few people that were into heavy music. Like, how did you first get into it? And like, were there anyone else that you kind of, anyone else in your community that was also into like heavy music?
There was no one in my community that took me under their wing. It was like, hey, let me show you this. There was no one there. I just got into it on my own. I think if I was to say there was like an influence, it probably came from my brother Matthew. He played guitar, but he was not into like metal. He was into more like pop punk, like Green Day and Fall Out Boy, and Red Hot Chili Peppers. And when I got into metal when around the time of Death Magnetic, like Metallica's Death Magnetic, which was like out in 2008. And I thought James Hetfield had the ultimate voice, and I just fell in love with the genre. And I started with Metallica, and from there it just got heavier and heavier. And I think I feel like it was kind of like full circle, when I think back on it, because I think my first exposure to metal was through SpongeBob, because SpongeBob had that episode where they had Pantera on the show. Yeah. That pre-hibernation week episode. Yeah. With that dun 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 dun. Like, I love that riff, and I thought, oh man, I want more of this. And being 6 or 7 years old, you don't have access to like the internet to where you can find like Pantera or whatnot. So usually it's when you get older you kind of find these bands, and that's what happened. When I got a teenager, I got into heavy metal and got heavier and heavier, because mainly I think what made me go heavier, like the opposition came from like Christians within my community, because I got kind of opposed. I got told, oh, I'm going to hell, you know what I mean, and this and that for doing the devil's music. And it was painful, you know what I mean? I there was actually a Christian metal period in my life where I was writing Christian metal lyrics, and but that wasn't even enough. And I just kind of came to that point where I was torn a lot. And one day, I didn't know which way I was going to go, because I didn't want to go the Christian way, because I didn't feel like I connected with that community at all, because they were always telling me I'm going to burn in hell, right? And then like Sirius XM Liquid Metal, how they do like the Bloody Roots show. Yeah. They did an episode on Native American metal.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And that was my first exposure to like Native American metal, besides like Testament, and all that. And when I heard resistant culture, I was like, that's what I want to do. And that's where I changed lyrical directions completely, and went away from like trying to please the community and be Christian and do Christian metal, to wanting to use my music to advocate for indigenous issues and to promote decolonization and a return to the old ways.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's really cool. How you got how that Bloody Roots episode kind of like introduced you to a lot of the bands. Like I guess I've always kind of just knew about these bands in passing, but I think, I kind of moved around a little bit for like school. And then I think when I was finally like away, I was living in like North Dakota for a couple of years. I think when I was gone, I kind of like was missing little things about being in Arizona. Like, I don't know, maybe you can relate, but like if you see someone from where you're from, like when you're, living somewhere far away from home, like those, I guess that's kind of like what got me really drawn to native and indigenous specific bands, and especially metal bands. But yeah, it's just something I've been really into, and just kind of feel like it's a cool scene, and definitely not well. I mean, I know there was a time period where it was being covered a lot. I think Revolver magazine did like a short documentary, and it's been mentioned in a couple of the big publications, but I kind of feel like it gets mentioned, but then after that it's kind of not really followed up.
It just disappears.
Yeah.
into the dark, into the shadows. Like, I remember when that Revolver documentary and magazine issue came out, I actually bought that issue because I was like going through a phase of doubt, right? Well, I didn't know anymore, and I was in Books a Million back home, and they had the magazine there, and I picked it up, and I was flipping through, and I saw them doing a cover in native metal, and I got all happy. Res metal, native metal, whatever you wish to call it, and it made my day, and kind of gave me some encouragement, seeing it. And next thing you know, like everybody was tagging me in it. Everybody back home was tagging me in it.
Yeah.
Like, look.
Yeah. Was that around the time?
I've always been about promoting.
Yeah. Was that around the time you started the Decolonized project?
I think it was around 2019.
Okay.
When I started it, because it was there. Yeah, so I think it was before that. So, after that issue came out. And what made me start the band was resistant culture, because I had a conversation with them. And I'm gonna tell you, this is for you're gonna get joy off this. I commented and told them, hey, when y'all coming to North Carolina? Because they were doing like an East Coast tour, and they were like, we'll come to North Carolina, but your band's got to be on the bill. And the band didn't have any music out. There was no band. The page was there, but there was no band. It was just me, And what I was doing with the page was I was just like supporting like Standing Rock and all that, but like when they have all that going on, the Standing Rock protests going on, I was like sharing like footage and whatever digital smoke signals was streaming, I was sharing it up there just to like have it be kind of like, oh well, support, And when resistant culture told me to get my band going, I was like, okay, I'll get my band back together. Like the band disbanded, and that's how that happened. So I just got into the North Carolina metal scene, and I got the first person I got to join the band was my guitarist, my former guitarist Martine. She was like all down in the dumps about not being in a band, and talking about how life sucks because she's not in a band. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, you know what? Here's your opportunity. Come join my band. That's how that happened. And then she went and got Matt, who was the bass player. And that's how Decolonized came to be. We didn't have a drummer. So the drums you hear on the demo ain't real drums. Those are keyboards. That's keyboard drums. So the keyboards were done by drums. The drums were done on keyboard.
Okay. Is that the Seeds of Resistance demo?
Yep.
Okay.
So there was no drummer. If you listen close, I don't know if you heard it, but you'll hear Gord.
Oh yeah, in the opening, the ritual, the spoken word intro.
It's on all the songs.
I'd probably say that's the only. Your music's the only one I've heard with a gourd rattle throughout the entire song.
That came from resistant culture, so that was influenced by them. Yeah, resistant culture influenced that. They did it first, so I just like, okay, let's sync it with the rhythm guitars, and that's how it happened. And people liked that sound, you know what I mean? And that's how that happened.
Yeah. Were there other bands or any other specific like inspirations for that first demo besides resistance culture?
Torture Squad was some inspiration. Torture Squad, resistant culture, Testament, and I think those are like the three that kind of influenced me. Oh yeah, and Deicide. So Deicide was an influence.
Oh, Deicide, hell yeah.
So Torture Squad is like a Brazilian death thrash band. That's why we did the whole like just 3 to 4 piece thing where we had the bass and one guitarist, because like I heard like a lot of Brazilian bands are like 3 to 4 pieces. They only have like one guitarist, and I liked the sound because I could hear the bass, and I wanted the bass to be audible because sometimes I feel like certain guitars sometimes bury the bass. And that's why I did it that way, because I was basically trying to like blend like resistant culture with Torture Squad in a way. You know, I mean, that's basically what I was trying to go for. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Cool. Yeah, and has there been any plans to put out another demo or another release?
As soon as we get the lineup together, I want to start working on new songs. I got lyrics. I just need to get the band going again, get the lineup secured, and just record some skeletons and stuff, and just practice, and then, you know, go record. I know, like, Ross told me when the band gets going, he is gonna hook me up with his producer to record the album that recorded the Bloodwolf album.
Yeah.
So that's what me and him have talked about, and that's the plan. You know, like, once the lineup is secure and put together, then we're gonna, like, record we're gonna re-record the demo songs, and we're going to record a new album with newer songs. So
awesome. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know you said you're living in New Mexico now. Like, do you ever get a chance to go back to North Carolina?
I haven't been back to North Carolina since I've been here. I video call my grandma and my mom weekly, every week when I'm off. So I usually call them and talk to them for 30 minutes to an hour, just ask how they're doing. My mom's supposed to be coming out here in the spring or summer to see me, and my brother's talking about coming, my older brother. So yeah, they're talking about coming out here to visit me.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, how do you like I guess New Mexico compared to North Carolina?
I like the nurturing environment about it. I love, like, the art, how the community is very supportive of the metal, I guess you could say. You know, metal is very supported around here, I notice, especially within indigenous communities. Whereas where I come from, you know, metal's not supported. You know, there's not a lot of art being displayed around the community unless it's powwow time. Like, when powwow time comes around, that's when, like, all the artists come out of the woodwork. But other than that, you know, there wasn't a lot of support for what I was doing when the band was going back home. Whereas over here, you know, people are excited for Decolonized to be coming back. And, you know, they're down to do, a lot of bands have said, you know, when you get the band going, let us know. We want to play with you. You know,
yeah.
So that's, you know.
I noticed, there's a lot of support within, like the native and, you know, indigenous / like regimental bands. Especially like a lot of band members, you know, they share band members throughout, like, a lot of the different bands. So I think it's, you know, there's a lot of support for one another. And then on top of that, there's just a lot of, like, you know, native people around here that are always, you know, wanting to find new bands, you know, me included. And then I usually ask this question to everyone. Is there any, like, bands that you feel like don't get enough recognition, or new bands that you think people should check out?
Oh, sure, for sure. Bloodwolf, Ross's band, and my friend Alejandra from out in Virginia. She's like Aztec or Mayan, and she was like a fire dancer. So she and her family used to travel to powwows. But to my surprise, she's actually a metal musician. And she does blackened speed metal. And she's a great musician, very talented. She's got her first demo out, and she's got a second demo on the way right now.
Yeah, what's the name of that project?
Blitz, like Blitzkrieg, Blitz.
Yeah.
And she's great. She's a great singer, wonderful person. And another band, last but not least, I think. Well, actually, it's two bands. I think we should recognize the original singer from Torture Squad, Vitor, for, you know, his contributions to indigenous metal, especially indigenous extreme metal, with his projects Tribal Scream and Voodoo Priest. They really do talk about indigenous issues, and He's an amazing vocalist, and I hope to get him over here one day. And I recommend you interview him. You should message him and interview him.
Yeah. What's his? I'll look him up. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I'll send you a link to him. And then the last band I say is Resistant Culture. I think they're very underrated, and they don't get enough recognition. And I feel like they need to be talked about, because they do a lot more than people think they do. Like, I was reading an interview and I found out they do like a lot. They do some youth outreach, and they try to help their own communities. You know, they may not be out on the front lines but they are like trying to help their community, and they send solidarity and support, you know, to like other struggles going on around them, like Standing Rock and all, you know. So that's one band I think people need to get to know, especially since the singer did a brief period in Terrorizer. Like Anthony Redshawk used to sing for Terrorizer, and then he did like 2 albums with them. The last one he did was Horde of Zombies, which had another member for Resistant Culture in the band. And a lot of people need to remember that. Well, recognize that Jesse Pintado from Napalm, and I think, didn't he play in Morbid too? Did he play in Morbid?
In Terrorizer? I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, Jesse Pintado played in Resistant Culture too, as well as played in Terrorizer. I think he played in Morbid at one point. I know Pete Sandoval played in Morbid for a bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know.
So that's something like people should look at, you know, because, you know, for sure, you know, and if Resistant Culture is out there listening to this, thank you for encouraging me, like, to get my band going.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I just those are cool. A lot of the bands you like mentioned, I haven't really checked out, so I'll definitely check them out. I guess I'm more of like I still follow a lot of like the mainstream stuff, and the main thing I've been listening to a lot is just this Immolation. I don't know if you can see the
Act of God.
Yeah, Immolation CD.
Oh yeah, nice.
I got in the mail a couple days ago. I've been just listening to that a lot.
I love Immolation. Yeah. Like I'm not a metal elitist, so you know I don't judge. I have my guilty pleasures.
Yeah, I know they played a show a couple days ago in Phoenix with Mortiferum and Imperial Triumphant, and I couldn't go just because it's like on a Monday night, and I live like 5 hours away, so it would have been cool to see them. But yeah, definitely, I was a big fan of Immolation and those other bands too.
I'm sure they're a great band. Like you mentioned, you said mainstream. I was like, well, I'm like, I don't hate on anyone for you know, liking anything that's like, I guess, more mainstream. Like, you know, for example, if someone likes Kill Switch Engage or something, I don't hate on them about it.
Oh yeah, I love them. Yeah, I love them too. I listen to a lot of things. I think, I don't know. I guess the only thing I don't really like get into is just like if the album cover has like a fucked up like mutilated corpse or like a mutilated woman on it, I don't even listen to it. I'm like, that's just not for me.
Oh, you mean like the slam bands?
Yeah, those bands. Yeah.
Like the slam bands, like the album artwork for like Guttural Secret.
yeah, like basically like, you know, basically women getting like raped by demons on the cover. I'm just like, that's just so like, I don't know. It's like, it's appealing to like the least common denominator, I feel like.
I think the reason why you feel like that is because you're kind of like, you feel like, oh, if I'm listening to this, I feel like I'm disrespecting women.
I feel like the person who made that artwork and the people who backed that artwork, I'm just like, I don't really, I'm just not, I'm sure it sounds heavy and like cool, but to me, I just kind of like, it's not for me.
It's just a turn off.
Yeah.
Turn off, you know, and that's perfectly normal. You know, like I know that's why I never got attracted to like the gory side of death metal. You know, I never got into it, you know, because I like the music, but I don't like the imagery.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take that imagery and just kind of indigenize it and have it be attacking the systems that, you know, oppress us, because what they fear is our culture.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, coming back in full fold, you know, and taking over and erasing their culture, their like systems of oppression. Oh yeah, and for if you're looking for I don't know, if you're looking for a good black metal, please check out Pan American Native Front.
Oh yeah, I definitely dig them. Yeah. I don't know. I think I might have like asked a couple I think I messaged about it, but I don't know if he does interviews. I haven't heard any like
I've only
video
heard
or audio interviews of I think his name is the Curator of War, right?
Yeah, I've only heard one interview with him.
Yeah, I'll definitely like, you know, see if he's into it. But the person I really want to talk to is like Max Cavalera. That's like the dude that I think he's probably like the most influential, just as far as like, you know, doing Sepultura and Roots. Yeah.
Max Cavalera is just all the native band's uncle.
Yeah.
He's just the uncle of the community. We're like, oh, there's Uncle Max. Hi, Uncle Max. Come on over. We got your food ready for you.
Yeah.
You know, me and Ross always talk about doing a Sepultura reunion. We always talk about making that happen so much. Like we be plotting how we would make a Sepultura reunion happen, and the stories we come up with off of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems kind of. I don't think it'll ever happen. Just
it won't. It won't. But we can fantasize.
Yeah. I think the band just like really crossed him hard, and he just doesn't want to have a reunion like with the original members. Yeah, it worked out for them though. They're both. It seems like both bands are still active and doing well. And yeah, Soulfly is going to be in Gallup, I think, in 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that show.
Oh, nice. I know Derek from Sepultura. He's really nice. He actually follows me. I actually follow him, and I've actually did like a Sepultura tribute. So I did like a turtle, and I have the Sepultura S on the back of it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And they loved it. And so he followed me and it was all, you know, I did that because he did this video standing up with the Amazon tribes, you know, called Guardians of Earth.
Yeah.
And you know, when I see a band and they show solidarity with our people, our struggles, then you know, I have a deep love for that band, because not all bands are willing to talk about these uncomfortable subjects. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially if they're like a real famous band. You know, they're they don't talk about it because they feel like, you know, it's not going to be received well. But, you know, bands that take that risk and be like, hey, let's talk about this subject because this is bad and it needs to be talked about.
Yeah, another like, I guess, famous person who did that was Randy Blyth from Lamb of God. He was actually at Standing Rock during the pipeline demonstrations, and I think the Lamb of God even wrote a song, or he wrote lyrics to about that on the Lamb of God album.
Southside of One.
Yeah.
On Route.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
Chuck really up there.
Yeah, that's another example of that. I mean, yeah, they're as big as they are, you know. It's cool that they recognized what the Standing Rock tribe was going through.
For sure. And then Fit for an Autopsy did something. They dedicated their song Black Mammoth to the Standing Rock resistance. And I remember I got home from Washington, D.C., me and my cousins went up to Washington, D.C. to protest with Standing Rock against the pipeline. So I came back and I looked up, and Fit for an Autopsy had a music video that was I think it was just nothing but footage from Standing Rock, and they just clipped it all together and made it like an educational music video where they're telling you about the issue. And the music is just kind of like the background music.
Yeah. And
it was a great music video, and I actually sent them like message telling them thank you for that.
Yeah, that's cool. I know, like I've seen them. I want to say like twice, like live, and they always close their show with that song Black Mammoth, and yeah, it's just an epic song, and it's just cool that they close all their live shows with that song.
Oh, for sure. I know that's one band I have to see at least once. I want to take a picture with them, and I want to have a sign. I want to get my Waters Life sign. I want to take a picture with them holding it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, hell yeah.
That's what I want to do. Yeah. And but you know, I think I've said enough here, and you know, and I enjoyed talking to you, and do you have any like extra questions you would like to know?
No, I think I'm good. I think those are pretty much all my questions. Any like closing remarks or anyone you want to like recognize before I stop the recording?
For sure. I would just kind of like to recognize Metal Cave. I want to thank Metal Cave for supporting all of us, you know, all of these bands out here, you know, North Carolina to California and beyond, you know. And I want to thank, you know, Resistant Culture, you know, and my friend Ross for kind of encouraging me when, you know, the band seemed to be falling apart, you know, and you know, so, and, you know, most importantly, just, you know, thank you for like doing this podcast, man, and keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. That was my talk with Jamie of Decolonized. I hope you enjoyed that interview, and be sure to follow Jamie of Decolonized on Instagram at Jamie Decolonized. Also, be sure to check out that Seeds of Resistance demo streaming on the Decolonized YouTube channel. Also, Metal Cave Zine has been streaming it as well. But yeah, thanks again for listening. Really appreciate it. I'm going to play another track off of the Seeds of Resistance demo, and this is going to be Do Not Speak. So yeah, thank you for listening. Yeah, talk to you later. Go in it.
That's